Welcome, I'm Joe Smith. Today a conversation with Steve Callaway. He was elected Hillsboro's 50th mayor last year. Before that, he served on the Hillsboro City Council in 2010 and was re-elected in 2014. And here's something you may not know. He was principal at Tobias Elementary School. Mayor Callaway, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. Good
So
to see
first
you.
time mayor.
Yes.
What's that like?
Oh, it's wonderful. Just having a wonderful time right now. We have a great city, and to be elected mayor is quite an honor.
So this is the honeymoon period?
You know, I expect 4 years of honeymoon.
Oh, do you really?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay, well, we'll see at the end of 4. But,
Sure.
So let's talk about Hillsboro. It's probably one of the fastest growing areas in Oregon right now. Why so?
Well, because of the jobs and because of the quality of life that we have here in Hillsboro. And we are in the process of adding 20,000 residents in South Hillsboro. And it's the largest master plan community in the history of Oregon. So that is now underway, and when it is completed, we will be, except for Portland, the largest city in the metropolitan regional area.
So you've got a little bit of competition then against Beaverton, and because Beaverton is probably in that mix somewhere too.
Correct. Gresham is second at this point, and
Okay.
so we are a little larger than Beaverton at 100,000.
It's nice to be number one, but is that always a good thing?
Well, we focus on meeting Hillsboro's needs, plain and simple, and working with our regional partners. And in the process, honestly, that makes everybody number one, serving their constituents, serving their community members.
Let's go back to this planned community. There just is this huge building boom right now. And of course, people would not come here if it were not for the jobs.
Correct.
Where are those jobs? I know there's Intel Leica Studios, which is doing really well.
Right.
But where else? Where else are the jobs?
So we have, 2,000 Nike employees here in Hillsboro. We have, Research Fine Foods have moved their operations to Hillsboro, and we have some presence with Columbia. Beaverton Foods has a presence in Hillsboro. So, we have quite a few, businesses where they have the room to grow, and they have a business-friendly community, that works to serve businesses. And so, of course, then the employees follow.
Portland kind of has a reputation, for good or for not, of not being the most business-friendly city. Are you the antithesis of that, of the mayor who says, yes, we can, rather than putting the brakes on development?
Well, we talk about the Hillsboro Way, and the Hillsboro Way is working together for the common good and doing things as well as we can, as efficiently as we can, and as quickly as we can. We know that every week that a project has to be held up is money for that business, for that developer, and it also prevents things from moving forward. So not in contrast or comparison to any other city in our area, but truly just working with our partners. And we have such a very strong economic development department. We have great partnerships with the chamber, and so we have people who come to Hillsboro because we have shovel-ready land. We have infrastructure that's already built, and we have a very highly skilled planning department that is able to help facilitate that process.
One of the biggest drawbacks for developers is trying to get through the process of going through City Hall and getting the permitting and all of that. Have you kind of made that an easier process, and is that one of the reasons why people are gravitating toward Hillsboro?
Well, I suppose, have we made it easier? It would depend on the conversation you're having with the developer on the day.
Right, yeah.
Certainly is for South Hillsboro, as we are adding, this many houses. There's been a lot of discussion and a lot of planning, for a number of years. And, some of this land has been held by developers for 20 years. And so farmers have been farming it. Those of us who drive by it love the green and the pastoral setting. But now the timing is right. And, we've worked through those details, and we are, they are putting in the infrastructure, and we'll begin building houses later this year.
And that's going to, of course, create more people, more cars on the road.
Yes.
Transportation seems to be the biggest issue universally in
Right.
Oregon right now. So what is Hillsboro doing to help with that? Because every city and every municipality is dealing with it.
Well, we have 50,000 people who drive into Hillsboro every day to work. And so as we add 8,000 houses in South Hillsboro, we know that some of those folks who commute in will now be living in Hillsboro, and instead of commuting from east or west, will be commuting north and south. So we have some widening projects on north and south roads that will be occurring. But also we have people who are saying, I can hardly wait to move to South Hillsboro so I can ride my bike to Intel, so I can ride my bike to the northern part of Hillsboro, because it'll be an 18-minute ride, and it would take as long, potentially, as 18 minutes to do it in your car. So, making sure that there's many transportation opportunities and options is part of what will make South Hillsboro just such a wonderful addition to our community.
Intel is the big elephant in the state, and very important to the economy of this state. What are you doing as mayor to make sure that Intel is happy?
Well, we work very closely with Intel, and we recognize that for 19,000 employees that they don't all live in Hillsboro, so it truly is a regional issue, and so we work with our state, legislatures and state officials to make sure that the things that Intel is needing in terms of incentives are present, if it's doable and reasonable. But then we have very close relationships with our Intel colleagues, and work for partnerships within our community. We have tremendous volunteers from Intel. They have their matching grants for employees that donate to local schools and organizations, and so we work well in terms of planning for roads and future construction, and so it's just that ongoing communication, but also just the really strong relationships that we've had.
With so many people moving into Hillsboro schools,
yes,
are there plans, or are you building new schools? Are you expanding the schools that are already there? What are you doing in order to increase that?
Well, obviously the schools are a little different, than our city, but in the 1,400 acres of South Hillsboro, Hillsboro School District already has purchased 90 acres, which would be enough land for new school. I think it's 3 new elementary schools, a middle school, and a high school. Wow. Because when you think of 20,000 people, that's the size of Sherwood or the size of Forest Grove that's going to be, added on.
Right.
And so clearly you would need to have that additional. But then, North Plains is growing. And so they will need a new school in the North Plains area. And so as we just grow, not just in Hillsboro, but because Hillsboro School District encompasses, North Plains and then parts of unincorporated Washington County, all of that growth will be reflected in additional needs for facilities.
Most cities are not destination cities, but Hillsboro has kind of fashioned itself to be a destination. You've got the Hillsboro Hops,
right,
and a lot of, you've got the air show.
Correct.
So you've got a lot of those destination-driven things that are going on in the city. Was that by design, or was it, dumb luck?
No, you know what? You can be lucky once,
Yeah.
but you can't be lucky that many times and for that period of time. And so, it all started, I would say back in 1997 when we started with our Hillsboro 2020 Vision and Action Plan, asking people, what do you want Hillsboro to look like? What do you want to be present in Hillsboro by the year 2020? And so that has truly been the blueprint, for all of our, for our remarkable, quality of life.
What's at the top of that list?
Well, we have now accomplished all of our 2020 and have moved on to 2035.
Really?
But what's at the top of the list? I would say, our park system. We just opened up Arenco Woods, which is a 30-acre park, in the center of Hillsboro, and it's just a remarkable asset. And the hops are another example. To me, that's one of my favorite ways to spend not just one summer night, but just about every summer night. And, they are hosting the All-Star game this year, so
right.
Hillsboro is now an All-Star city. And so, and part of what's fun about minor league baseball, especially with the All-Star game, you know, if you're a Dodger fan, you never get to see Dodger prospects in Hillsboro because they don't play in the Northwest League. But the All-Star game is between the Pioneer League and the Northwest League, so the Royals, the Brewers, and the Dodgers will be sending All-Stars, you know, to compete against Northwest League All-Stars. So it's one more reason to come on out to a game.
And those
this summer.
games are fun.
They are an awful lot of fun. We also have Top Golf, you know, the first Top Golf facility in the Northwest. And that place is packed. It's just amazing. At 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning until, you know, midnight on Saturday night, every weeknight it's full. And the golf experience that you have, the social experience that you have, the entertainment, it is definitely a destination in that way as well.
As mayor, what keeps you up at night?
Oh, you know, recently we had our Sanctuary City issue, and that was one that, you know, was very thought-provoking for not just myself, but the 6 councilors who serve Hillsboro together with me. And
the vote wasn't unanimous, though.
It was a 4-3 vote, and so you know, the mayor casts a vote only when there's a tie, and so this was a 3-3 vote, and so I cast the deciding vote in favor of the resolution to declare sanctuary. But you know, it was such a thoughtful process, and we listened to hundreds of people. In fact, at the city council meeting where we approved the resolution, we had over 3 hours of public testimony, and at 2 minutes per person. And you know, as you heard the eloquence and the articulate reasons for, you know, why the different councilors were casting the vote, you know, I thought of Abraham Lincoln's line from I think it was his second inauguration speech, with malice towards none and charity to all. And that was truly, for me, the framework through which all of the councilors spoke of their great care for Hillsboro as a community, the great care for all of our residents, you know, including those who are present undocumented.
And your city is probably the most diverse in Oregon.
About 25% of our population is Latino, and then we also have just a broad diversity beyond that with Middle Eastern, you know, with Indian, with Somalis and African Americans. So we have a wonderful diversity, and that's, you know, that's one of the things that is a highlight and an absolute strength of our community. We celebrate that in many ways. We have our Latino Cultural Festival coming up in April, and that's something that we love. Thousands of folks, you know, gather in Hillsboro, and we celebrate, you know, the Latino culture and our Latino neighbors.
And that's extended into libraries?
Yes.
With material and books and videos?
Correct.
For the Latino community?
Exactly. And now, you know, we have books that the libraries purchase that are by Latin American authors. So these just aren't works that are translated into Spanish, but these are truly, you know, works by Latin American authors that are available, and it's a touch of home, but it's also educational for those of us who have grown up in the United States. You know, we have story times because with our library, early childhood literacy is the #1 priority. So they have story times in many different languages, you know, a couple of times a week, and they are full. And it just is so great to see our libraries as a, you know, center of our community, and to see that love of literacy growing from an early age.
You've got that one over by the airport.
Yes.
That is just absolutely beautiful. I know that was built probably for you know, another reason, and it didn't work out, but it is absolutely, it's a showpiece.
So you talk about, is Hillsboro lucky? You know, we had a bond a number of years ago to build a library on a different piece of property, and it failed. And so then we go back to the drawing board, and this was an empty building that was there on Brookwood Parkway, and it had been vacant for years. And so we looked at it and realized we can make it work here. And so, boy, you talk about making lemonade out of lemons. You know, the siting of that, we have over 1 million people who will come and visit that library every year. And then we have our Chute Park Library. So we have great library offerings.
So money to keep the city running.
Yes.
Are you worried about that? Do you have enough to do what you need to do? Do you need to raise taxes? Is everything okay?
Everything is wonderful. You know, we are very fiscally thoughtful. You know, we carry a reserve balance of about 20% from year to year. because we recognize that we need to be, wise stewards of, the tax dollars that are given to us. And so, we are very sound, and, we're able to take some of our funds, for instance, our enterprise zone funds, which comes from, property tax incentives and abatements, which is one of the tools that we use to bring new businesses or to have businesses expand. And so one of the things that we're doing with our enterprise zone funds is we provide money for Future Connect, which is a program that we have with Portland Community College. And so 50 high school seniors, are funded every year for their community college education. And so Beaverton does that, Portland does that, and our $100,000 is combined with money from the PCC Foundation and the PCC General Fund. And these typically are first generation college kids. So, they haven't had the opportunity to grow up in a college culture at home. And so now they have mentors, they have coaches, they have a cohort, they've got tutors, and to see our seniors, moving then into, PCC and having that opportunity where nobody else in their family had it, that, is very, very exciting for us. But that's one of the things that we use our enterprise zone for. We have our Center of Prosperity, our Prosperidad, which is going to be in downtown Hillsboro. It's a job, workforce, job training, employment center, which is for every low-income person who lives in downtown Hillsboro. So it'd be Latino as well as Caucasian. And so we will give you the skills and the connections to either improve your job or to get a job in the first place.
And that's a real issue for a lot of employers, is they have the jobs, but they don't have the skilled workforce to fill those. You mentioned mentor. Who along the way mentored you to influence you, to make you the person you are?
Yeah, I'd have to give credit to my parents. Two of the finest people I know. Both late dad's 89, mom's 90. And the importance of public service and the servant's heart truly came from them. And my dad, with the Sanctuary City vote, was truly one of my inspirations. Growing up as a child and seeing the engagement and activism, that he did, gives me the courage many years later, to do what I believe is the right thing. And so I'm indebted, to my mom and dad. And then, of course, when we moved to Hillsboro 20 years ago, it was the easiest community I've ever been in which to get involved. And so there are so many people who gave me the opportunity to be involved and supported me. And then, as mayor, I'm inspired by the kids that I would see every day coming through the schools, who would do their very best, inspired by those who do the volunteer work quietly behind the scenes and don't get any attention. So I'm inspired by all of those folks.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Mayor Callaway, thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, continued success.
Appreciate that. Look forward to coming back. Take care.